Hi, good morning, everybody. I'm Matt, and today we have a kind of a special treat for you. Tom is traveling. He's out of the country for the moment, so we're here with our CFO, Steve Hicks. Morning, Steve.
Good morning.
How's it going?
Well, it's going well.
Awesome. Now, this is part of the story. You know, we've been building from Henry to William, a little piece here and there, but we haven't really heard your story, Steve. So you married into the Greenwell family, correct?
That is correct.
How long ago did that happen?
That happened in the late 1970s. So I've been with the company or the family for quite some time.
I see. So your wife is Tom's sister, right?
My wife, Elizabeth, is Tom's older sister.
I see.
And Beth was at New Mexico State University. That was her mother's alma mater.
I see.
And when I was there in my graduate program, and that's when we met.
Awesome.
We moved to California for a short period, where I went to work for a big corporate farm, and then the family convinced us to come back to Hawaii.
I see.
At first, to help them with their cattle ranch, and the cattle ranching business in the early 1980s was a bit of a struggle. So we were looking for ways to diversify the business, and coffee was one option. And because our family history goes way back in the coffee industry, we thought that was a good fit.
I see. So you were there when you decided to go to coffee as the main thing, and
that's correct.
I've heard that you had the initial business plan for that.
Well, the family at the time in the early 1980s had very little experience with coffee, even though the original Greenwell here was in the business back in the mid 1800s. So that was my job. I went to different places in the world where coffee's grown and gathered up as much information as I could. And we came back working with the university and put together a business plan.
I see.
And at first we thought we would bring in a mechanical harvester, and we actually have pictures of that old machine that we bought. And before we discovered it really doesn't fit in Kona. Kona is a hand-picked agricultural product, and it's because of how things work here in Kona. The rain is not as predictable. It's steady, but not as predictable as one would need for mechanical harvesting.
I see. So from that beginning and seeing Kona Coffee kind of evolve over the years into the specialty, coffee product that we see it today, what are some of the, highlights, ups and downs, memorable moments that come to mind in that whole journey? I know it was a crazy journey, right?
Well, I think the short answer is we made every mistake that could possibly be made.
That's how you learn, right?
As we were learning, absolutely. We started while Tom was still in college, so he came back, and he and his dad put together a small little processing facility in one of the old buildings here on the ranch property, and through trial and error learned how to process coffee. I was very much involved in the Kona Coffee Council. Actually, I was the second president of that organization in the early 80s, and then Norman became very involved in the Kona Coffee Council, and we eventually became involved in the Hawaii Coffee Association, which is a statewide industry.
Right.
So when we started in the business, Kona was pretty much the only place coffee was grown in any significant way.
Right.
And we've seen other areas in the state build up, and so that's why a state organization came into being.
Right.
But at first, we started off very minimally, and farmers started coming and asking if they can sell us cherry. And the first thing that happened was, well, Norman, Tommy's dad, he passed away in 1992. He was a relatively young man to pass away, and so Tom's mother, Jean Greenwell, who was a pretty smart lady, she basically agreed to continue down the path of the coffee industry, but she said we'd have to figure out the money side.
I see.
So eventually the family invited me back. I went away in the late 1980s and had other careers here on the Big Island.
Gotcha.
And then rejoined the family in the late 1990s, about the time we were growing. And so my job has been pretty much to take care of the financing and run the business side of our little adventure.
Now, I've heard, as a little side path here, that you really had an artistic background, musician, artist, photographer, woodworker, little this, little that.
I've been pretty confused most of my life, yeah.
Well, then you find yourself in the world of numbers and spreadsheets and bank loans and insurance. You're able to reconcile all that within your soul.
Well, it's a left brain, right brain situation.
Got you.
But the music was something that, like yourself, I did on the side to help me get through college. And then I grew up in my father's woodworking shop.
Got you.
So I was always around woodworking, and
so you continue to do that as a hobby?
As a hobby, yeah. And for a while in the 90s, the mid 1990s, until I came back to work with the family, I did it full time. I built furniture for wealthy people here on the islands.
Wow.
The business, though, has become a large. During the harvest season, we have close to 100 employees. There is a lot of administrative tasks that have to be taken care of, and so that kind of falls under what I do now.
Right. Now, I've been told we have to keep our interviews kind of more concise, and so I have one more question for you, and really it's a tough one, but you spend a lot of time thinking about the future, not what's necessarily happening at this moment, but what 5, 10, 15, 20 years down the road look like. What, in a couple sentences, is the future of Kona Coffee, or 100% Kona Coffee?
I think that as American, the Americans have discovered gourmet food in general. I think anybody who is building food products that are quality oriented will continue to have a bright future. And what makes Kona a unique situation is that we have this brand that has been around for centuries, and I think people will always expect the most from Kona Coffee, because it's always been one of the better coffees in the world.
I see. That's amazing. Okay, well, thank you for your time. Guys, I hope you enjoyed a little bit different voice this month, and we'll see you in May. Have a lovely day. Aloha.